Hello and welcome to episode 55 of the Weighing Room, where it's just me and Frankie this week to go through 11 races across Saturday and Sunday, with action from Sandown, Aintree and Fairyhouse offering up 5 Grade 1 events across the weekend. Frankie, been a busy man, haven't you? It's nice to have you back. How you been?
Yes, all good. Up and down the country. I'm actually off to Sandown this weekend, and it'll be the first Tingle Creek I've ever gone to. So I'm really excited, and fingers crossed, John Bon, Shishkin. I mean, even the rest of the Tingle Creek with Emberstone, Grenadine. It could be a brilliant card, and it goes right through into Sunday in Ireland as well. So good weekends racing. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, some top action. And you've got a little bit to live up to this week. Me and Paul had a cracking week last week with some nice winners. So no pressure whatsoever.
Was Paul
Right then.
bringing in the Dundalk naps?
Oh yeah, of course he has. Of course he's always got to bring them in, Annie. So and he's not on this week, but hopefully we'll get him to send something over on socials. We can't have a Friday, can we, without a Dundalk nap
We can't.
from Paul. Right then, we'll kick off this week as pod by looking at the 130 from Aintree. It's the Grade 2 many clouds chase over 3 mile, 1 furlong. A cracking race ahead, Frankie, to kick us off, because you got a Hoy Senior top of the market 5-4 who didn't give his running probably last time out, but always does that on his first run. Noble Yeats, Grand National winner, back at Aintree for the scene of the crime, 9-2. Chantry House, a Grade 1 winner at the Cheltenham Festival, 11-2. And then you've got Sounds Russian, Sam Brown, and Dashel Drasher. He probably doesn't get the respect he deserves at bigger odds. It's a tricky one to start, even though there's only a small field, but they've all got decent form lines, haven't they, Frankie?
They do, yeah. And really, the market's influenced my selection here. A Hoist and yours just a bit skinny for me, and I will kind of defend him before I back against him, in the sense that horses do have bad runs, and even you look at Brave Man's Game at Aintree last year, the race that Hoist and your won. Brave Man's Game ran poorly that day, and then he's come out this season and looked brilliant in a race where Hoist and yours ran poorly. So these horses do have mix and match forms, and what the form he ran to at Weatherby is not the be all and end all for Hoysignol, but they've just got him a bit short for me at 11-8, and to have the rest of the field at 5s and bigger. These are all top class horses in their own right. I think there's just a bit too much of a gap between Hoysignol and the rest of the market. So Sam Brown, I would much rather. I know it's a small field and you'll only get 2 places, but I would much rather take Sam Brown's to run into second at 9s each way, or maybe have the chance of winning, than I would a Hoysignol at 11-8, 5-4. Sam Brown always runs a real true race. You look at where he finishes. He's always play. I mean, he's very rarely out the pricing. He'll always give you a run for your money. Finished third at Weatherby, and in front of him was Brave Man's Game, and then Eldorado Allen, who ran a brilliant second last time out in the Betfair chase. The form's there. He's consistent, and he's just overpriced in my opinion. So Hoysignol could bounce back, but like I said, the market's influenced me here.
No, I can understand that from taking on a Hoysignol from that point of view, and you could probably make a case for a lot in the field. The thing I'd say with Sam Brown is 10 years of age now. He's got to give a pat to Hoysignol. We don't mind an old boy, but I think when it comes to these top class races like this, I can't get away from a Hoysignol. And the big reason why I can't do that, I'm very forgiving. And we are forgiving on this podcast, and we do like the oldies. We are a very respectable bunch of gentlemen, aren't we, on this podcast? But
yeah.
A Hoysignol, for me, if you go through his form and you look at his first run of every season, he's never won. He's never won. Like the run he gave last time out at Weatherby was not his true running at all. He gets better and better throughout the season. But if you then look throughout his career and look at his second run, he's gone on to win every one of his second runs. So if you look at what Lucinda Russell was saying after the race and all the time throughout his career, he's very fizzy. He gets himself worked up. Unless he gets into a rhythm straight away, he's going to blow out. Like, that is the way this horse goes. And that's the take. You do take a chance of 5-4 that, look, he might have took the fizz out of him that first race, and I hope he has, and that's why I'm putting him up. But he's still got to get into a rhythm, and this isn't an easy race to win. But on the other hand, the Hoysignol is the class horse in this race.
He's got the Aintree form as well, hasn't he? He's won twice around Aintree before.
Well, he's unbeaten at Aintree. He's a Grade 1 winner over hurdles. He's a Grade 1 winner over fences. He showed last season in the big novice races against the likes of Braveman's Game. Even though he got beat by Braveman's Game at Kempton, he came back to beat him at Aintree. He was second at Cheltenham behind Long Press. Long Press, we know how good that horse is, and that was in torrential ground. If you look at the way he came back as well, that was brilliant. This horse, honestly, I think he's a superstar. I think he's absolutely brilliant. He might not be one to go and win the Gold Cup because the Irish are brilliant. They've got so many good horses, but for a race like this, and from getting that first run out the way, I just couldn't get away from a Hoy Senor, and I really, really fancy him. I respect Noble Yeats, Grand National winner, but again, Grand National winners coming into a race against a calibre, against a Gold Cup horse, is he as good? We'll wait and see. Chantry House having his first run of the season, that's what puts me off that horse. I like Chantry House a lot. I loved him over hurdles and I've loved him over fences, but I don't think he's as good as a Hoy Senor. Sounds Russian will do really well to win this race, even though very progressive, I think, do really well to win this race. And Sam Brown's got a solid case, course and distance winner, 9-1, and probably he's not a bad play for me without a Hoy Senor. And Dash with Dash, I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. But again, this is a really tough task in it. It's a really tough task in this race. But that's what I mean. I've gone through the field and I just kept coming back to a Hoy Senor for the reasons I've mentioned. And I know he's skinny at 5-4, but I just think this horse wins this race. So next up, we're going to talk about Sandown's first event on ITV, and it is the first Grade 1 event of the day, and it is the Henry VIII Novices Chase over 2 miles. Only 4 got to post, disappointingly. It's been the theme of the national season, hasn't it, so far? Well, not that many runners are going to post, but we have John Bon at the top of the market. Very, very short at 1-3, but he's the class act. Booth Hill, 3-1. He's probably a handicapper that's going to take his chance in a Grade 1 off the back of his win last time out. Unexpected Party, 4 Dan Skelton, and Honor de Jonk at 100-1. I think it's pretty simple in this one, Frankie.
Yep. John Bon, I don't think anything will get close to him at all. We'll go and win this and probably shorten even further for the Arkle. The way he put Montmorel on West Cork, 2 decent horses to bed so easily last time was just so impressive. And I can't see this being any different, to be honest. I think he's really going to make the rest of these just look a complete different class, which they are really on paper. So, yeah, John Bon, straightforward. Not stylish, it will be.
Yeah, and not to be disgraceful to the other horses, it's not a great renewal, is it? Of a Grade 1. Like, I've got respect for all these horses behind and taking their chance against John Bon. And look, if John Bon slips up, these are horses at the end of the day, they're not machines. If John Bon slips up at a fence, it's only jumped, 8-9 fences in public. So yes, John Bon is brilliant, and I'm trying to play devil's advocate here because he is just going to go and win. But I can understand why you take your chance when these aren't Grade 1 horses in Grade 1 races. But that's not what Grade 1s are for, and that's what frustrates me. That no, like, you don't seem to see people take each other on, and that it is frustrating. But look, on the other side, we get to see John Bon again. He is short 1-3. He's not got a horse you're going to back yourself. You put into your multiples if you want to. And the thing is, John Bon last season, because he got beat by Constitution Hill, everyone forgot about him, I thought, even though he went back in the country. But Constitution Hill is just in a different parish to every horse I've ever seen. So for him, for John Bon to only be beat by Constitution Hill throughout his career, he's a serious horse in his own right. And I from that first race over fences, I thought he improved for going over fences. He looked brilliant.
Did look good, yeah. Looked very, very good.
He could have won by further, couldn't he? And Montmorel's no mug. Thought Montmorel ran a good race in behind West Cork as well, highly rated. So it was a good performance. I just hope we see it again. I just hope he trots round and wins as he wants, which I think he will. I think it's very simple, isn't it? This one.
It makes the long-term game slightly harder when we don't see these horses come off the bridle, because you just don't know how much they've got. You know, it's all great to go and see him trot round 3 or 4 times and then go to Cheltenham, but you want to see a bit of a race, don't you? But we haven't got that. I do think he will just trot round, as we said.
No, I agree. And the thing is, I think he's got a cracking chance in the Arkle, but 2-1's quite short, I think, at the moment.
So we've seen Muller's.
Exactly. And the thing is, if John Bon goes and scoots up, which he will, he could go even shorter. So it's the tough thing from an anti-post Cheltenham festival perspective. But Again, we can only talk on what's going to happen at the weekend. So hopefully he goes and does the business. Right then, more of an event we can get stuck into is the big one from Aintree, and it is over the national fences with the Beecher Chase over 3 mile 2 furlongs. Always a tricky punting event, Frankie, and this year's looks exceptionally tricky, I think. Who have you gone for?
Yeah, one at the top of the market and one just a wild card down at the bottom. Ashtown Lad, another scouting horse. I mean, they're firing at the moment in these big races. For all that, I didn't necessarily slate a Hoist Senior, but I'm not backing him. But that being said, the form of this horse, third behind a Hoist Senior at Wetherby, fifth in a Welsh Grand National for 140, and somehow has come down £2 for that. I don't really know. I think that's quite generous. And then has had that little prep run over hurdles in which Remastered, Jericho Rock, Dose Alba, Aber, all ran in, and that form kind of stacks up even if you were looking at a little hurdle race to prep for some big handicap chases. So I think Ashtown Lad deserves his spot at the top of the market, and I think he's got a great chance in all honesty. One a little bit of a price right down at the bottom, Domain Delisle. Over a stone down for fourth in this last time at 66 to 1. Hasn't done a whole lot since, but I'm just hoping on taking the chance that they might have targeted this race again. And off of 132 when he ran into fourth last year off of 147, that's a lot of weight to drop. And his form recently is why he's come crashing down in the handicap. But they target this race. He's gone around Aintree before. He's running this race before. Could he do the same again at, I think he's like 40s this time round? Nick a place, maybe.
40 to 1 chance. Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice angle in, actually. It's just if the horse gets back to the similar form, doesn't it? But yeah, Ashtown, he's got a brilliant profile for this race. And obviously the Skeltons, they can't stop having big winners on a Saturday, can they, at the moment? So,
I know, loving it.
What was it? Betfair Chase, Coral Gold Cup, and then it could be the Beecher Chase. So yeah, definitely worth a shout. I've gone with two different ones in here, and I've gone, it's very similar, one at the top of the market and one at a bigger price. The reason I've gone with this horse is Jez Kill for Oliver Greenall and Josh Guerrero is because I tipped him up actually for the Grand Sefton when he was beat by a nose. He's only gone up £4 for that. Paul was on the podcast that day and he was talking about if you look at Henry Brook, who rode it that day, he's got a cracking record over the national fences, always like filtering into the places. And Oliver Greenall and Josh Guerrero haven't got a bad record with their horses as well. And when they were jockeys as well, knew how to ride horses around there. I think that probably, I didn't know that at the time, but when Paul, you explained that, obviously you see trainers then probably direct horses towards this meeting. He came from Francis horse. He does want it soft, and he's probably not going to get it as soft as he wants it. Any more round would be brilliant for this horse. But I just thought from the way it ran last time and how much clear they were of the field over that, they've gone up in trip here from 2 mile 5 to 3 mile 2. He's only up £4. He took to the course really well. He was solid at 92, I thought, as an each way proposition. You can get extra places on offer with a lot of firms, I think, this week. So yeah, for me, I thought Jess Kill was obviously the standout pick. He's at the top of the market, but I just thought he was fairly solid, and he just looked like he's only 6 years of age. He's going up that £4. He's still progressing. I just think the national fences improved him last time. Another one at a bigger price that caught my eye, and I do have a bit of a soft spot for this horse. In from 20 to 1, it's about 12s, 14s now. It's the Wolf for Ollie Murphy and Adrian Heskin. Look, he's a slightly bigger price than Jez Kill, but he's got the profile in these races over marathon trips that I don't think he's actually probably give his full potential true running yet, even though he's been filtering into second in a lot of them. So if you look back on New Year's Day at Cheltenham, he ran out a really good second behind fullback for Gary Moore, the 3 mile 2. We know that horse is a cracking star. That was in a handicap event that day. He was upped in trip to 3 mile 7.5, and that was at Musselburgh, and he showed he could stay. He grabbed second close home behind Captain Cassocco. I know you've tipped up before in the past, and he was getting loads away that day. At that trip, he tried that trip, so he for the first time, and he only went up £2 for the Scottish Grand National. And if you look back at his run, he ran into 7th, but it was a better run than what the results suggest. And Win My Wings ran away with the race that day. He's put away for the season after that. He returned at Cheltenham Showcase meet in October, went a good second again behind Lord Accord over 3 mile 1. Lord Accord went and Frank the 4 in the Badger Beers, but I took him Frodon all the way to the line. I just thought off what 138. I still think there's more to come from this horse. Only he's 8 years of age. He's having his second run since a wind up as well, and we know how a lot of trainers do well with horses that are like it's their second run after a wind up. So I just thought I'd give a chance to the Wolf because I thought he'll definitely stay the trip, no problem. He'll stay further, and you need that round Aintree. So around 12 to 1, he's an each way player for me in that one.
Your Hills have had a good start, haven't they, to the season as well?
Oh yeah, they have. Yeah, I think they've got a lot of well handicapped horses from the last few seasons. So yeah,
I think they made a point of saying that they were going to give it a real crack this year, and I mean, like I said, they've had a few that are well handicapped, and they've given it a good go so far. So,
definitely. Yeah, back over to Sandown then for the next race we're going to cover, and it is the Betfair Daily Rewards Handicap Hurdle, and it sees some talented runners actually go to post in this one. And at the top of the market, we have a Cheltenham Festival winner, don't we?
We do, and I think Love Envoy is overpriced. I really do. I mean, it's easy to say, but it's kind of stood true over the last couple of weeks that these horses that are higher rated, that have won great graded races or gone to the big festivals last year, as long as they stand up to that form, they've been coming into races like this and winning. We've seen it at the start of the season with plenty of horses, and I'm definitely not trying to shy away from picking out the highest rated in the field. Although there is Marta Toro from France rated 142 in here, but Love Envoy with that Cheltenham Festival form, and then even I know beaten 8 lengths by Brandy Love at Fairyhouse, but we're still in second with Horse Piss, Dinah Blue, Gronji, Lunar Display, all of those horses in behind. They're all graded horses in their own right as well. So, yeah, for me, Love Envoy is overpriced. People would probably start questioning the ground, but I mean, it says soft at Cheltenham. I don't think it was quite soft, was it, that day? And then Yielding, good to soft over in Ireland, I think can get away with soft, good to soft, or good soft and soft in places, which it might be. Yeah, for me, I'm taking that Cheltenham form. I'm taking even the Fairyhouse form, and I think should be really hard to beat if runs to that level.
Yeah, I'm completely with you here. I can't understand why this horse is an odds on. I really can't, because there's no horse in this, bar probably on Public, who I think will run into second, but bar on Public, I don't know what horse in this field is a grade 2 contender. If you shoved any of these horses in behind Love Envoy into a grade 2, they get beat, in my opinion. Whereas Love Envoy was taking Brandy Love, who's a class horse, fairly close in a grade 1, won 2 grade 2s last season, won at the Cheltenham Festival in one of the most competitive races there, and you dropping into a handicap of 139. I can't understand it. I think it's an
seems too good to be true.
He does, he really does.
Something's going to go wrong.
Yes, she is better on soft, heavy ground. That's proven. But like you said, at Cheltenham, I don't think it was ridiculous on that Thursday. Yes, they had a downpour of rain, but I think it softened up before she ran before the end of the card on that Thursday. So I would have said it was probably good to soft ground, maybe good to soft in places, but I think she can get away with it. It's just her first run, isn't it? Harry Fry's been going well this season. She's a course and distance winner as well. Round here, I couldn't understand why this wasn't odds on. I thought it was quite a cracking bet actually around the 7-4 mark. And she showed last season. I did doubt her last season. I remember on the Cheltenham preview night, you actually put this horse up at 12s. And I thought, look, the Irish are going to be brilliant, but she was absolutely superb. If you win a race like that and you're getting dropped in a handicap hurdle, you've got to go and win, haven't you? If you want to go and be that grade 1 horse.
I think something to another angle into, or something to just to flag up. It's a syndicate horse, and I know everyone's trying to get winners, but I know the Noel Fielding Racing Syndicate they want to keep the success going of this horse. And they will have been waiting for a race that they think they can win. And coming here could have been, like we said, a bit of a gift off of 139. And if they can keep that winning streak going for this horse and relight the fire that she might go back to Cheltenham and do the same, then it'd be handy for the syndicate as well. So another reason for this to be well placed.
You're right. And this horse isn't a type that they're going to, let's drop it back in the field so it gets dropped a few pounds or run it in handicaps. That's not what they're going to do. They've shown that last season they're going to run in grade 2, grade 1 company. Like this horse will probably go for the grade 1 mare's hurdle, won't it? All being well. So to start it off in a handicap, you'd like to think it's going to go and win. And I think 7-4, it's just if she's fully fit. If she's there and gone, she'll win this race. And I think 74 could be a great price on the day.
I agree.
Entry's next race then is the Ball Sports Daily Money Back Second Class 2 Handicap Chase over 2 mile 4. And again, it actually sees quite a nice field go to post in this one, but it is a tricky one. Who are you going for?
It is a tricky one. I struggled to kind of really land on something I was kind of super strong on here, but Gunsight Ridge has took my preference. Has gone chasing around Entry 3 times, won one of them, which was last time out, pulled up the other and third the other. So it's placed, well, one and placed out of 3 runs over fences. He does make you a little bit nervous. He goes through the top of them. You can get away with that at Aintree, but he does go through the top of a few. But he just travels brilliantly. He was a good hurdler over 2.5. He hasn't gone chasing over 2.5 yet. He's just done 1 mile 7 or 2 milers over fences. And I think maybe just getting him a bit more comfortable over bigger obstacles before now stepping back up to 2.5. I've got no question about him going back up to the trip over fences. Got to jump on well, but he's just such a strong traveller. You watch him finish that race at Entry last time out, and he looked quick across the ground. So now a little bit more chasing experience under his belt. As I said, twice round Entry over these fences. And I think if he puts it all together, there's still more improvement to come to keep up with the handicap because he's gone up £4. But I think back up to 2.5, he can kind of keep up and match the handicapper there. So yeah, Gunsight Ridge would be my each way play in a race where, as I said, there wasn't loads I was too keen on, but that'd be my choice.
Gunsight Ridge was one I did look at and I've got respect for. The only thing that put me off that horse was if you look at his record over 2 mile 4, it's not as good as his record over 2 miles. Yes, he's got more experience under his belt now. That was my only concern, and that was the only reason why I went away. And I went with Knight in Dubai for the Skeltons. We've mentioned them quite a bit on this pod, but they're absolutely flying this season, aren't they? And this horse is from I'm going to tip this horse up from a handicapping perspective off a marker 131, off 11 stone, going against horses that have proven that they're very inconsistent and that they're at a higher weight in the field. I think at around 7 to 1, I think I'm happy to play this horse against the field. The 9-year-old has shown glimpses of form throughout his career, but it's looked him in too high a mark over the last few years to really go and be consistent. He was given his seasonal debut this term at Bangor in a Class 3 handicap over 2 mile, 4.5 furlongs. And he was a good second. He was given over a stone away to the winner that day. It was a perfect prep run for this type of event. That run came off a marker 130. He's only up a pound for this race. As I said, the form of the yard's brilliant. He'll be much fitter for that run. And I just thought 11 stone off a marker 131 when his RPR is 153, which is only one beyond Gunsight Ridge and ahead of riders on the Storm and Brave Siaska, who are actually rated higher. I thought was something to take note of. Riders at the Storm at the top of the market, you can see why this horse is favourite, but a very inconsistent horse. That's the problem. The race that he won, they got the Old Rome. Brilliant battle with Hitman. Hitman's obviously come out and is going for the King George, was a perfect performance at Haydock. Garlaw's come out and won the Paddy Power Gold Cup at Cheltenham. Beakstown and ran no race after that, and the form probably sinks. But if you look at the top 3 from there, it's strong form, so you can see why it's 11 to 4 favourite. But Riders on the Storm's inconsistent, and that's why Night in Dubai for me at the weights was the play in this race for the Skeltons, around 7 to 1 mark. Right then, the feature event from Sandown on Saturday is the Grade 1 Betfair Tingle Creek Chase over 2 miles. And what a race this is. I know there's only 6 go to post, but this is what national racing is all about for me, because we're actually seeing some of the big guns take each other on. Shishkin, top of the market, 11 to 10. I'll explain more later. I am tipping against Shishkin, but I can't believe I'd ever say that because I absolutely love this horse. Grenadine, 15 to 8 second favourite. Arkle winner, Edward Stone, 11 to 2. Aintree Grade 1 winner, Gentleman to Me at 10 to 1. Second in the champion chase, Fun on Ball Savola, 22 to 1. And then Dunvegan, probably making up the numbers, but still worth his chance at 66 to 1. Frankie, cracking racing it. You'll be there on Saturday. Talk us through your selection.
Oh, it's brilliant. And I'm hopeful that they do all turn up. You know, recent weeks we've had non-runners, but I'm pretty hopeful that all of these horses get here on Saturday. And it is, you know, Shishkin, Grenadine, Eberstone, even Gentleman to Me is a really exciting one as well in there. every horse in this race deserves its chance. Maybe Done Vegan is pushing it a bit, but there's 5 that are top class horses. And as I've said previously, I can't get away from these horses that have shown to be of that different class. And Shishkin, for me, he has to be the old Shishkin. But if he is, I think beats this lot. He's beaten Energamine, who went and won the champion chase. He beat Grenatin easily at Kempton. Everything else that he's kind of touched, even you go back to the Arkle last year, I know that's going back maybe a bit too far to start calling on that form, but everything that he's done has not just been really, really impressive, it's been beating the other best horses that we've got at the moment. And provided he is back to that form, I think he takes all the beating here. Grenatin has been great this season. Obviously won this last year and looks to have been a better horse. So it's going to be probably the one to push Shishkin. Gentleman to me is a little bit of the unknown. Took some money at Aintree, didn't he? And then went and won, beating Edwardstone. I'd imagine they think a bit of that horse over in Ireland. Edwardstone, there's nothing wrong, just not as stylish as we'd like. I think maybe Edwardstone doesn't quite have the engine to go with some of these Shishkin and Grenatin kind of type horses. But yeah, I mean, I'm no vet, so maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but it's not like Shishkin had a tendon injury or something last year. From what I've read and what Nicky Henderson have said, they called it a condition, almost like an illness. And they seem to have got that under control and right. And he was on the gallops at Newbury and working well upsides Champ. All of the things I've kind of seen give me hope that Shishkin is going to be the Shishkin we know. So I'm sticking with him. I would take my chances at 11 to 10. That he's, once a top class horse, provided no injuries or anything like that, you stay a top class horse.
Yeah, look, it's tough for me really because I've had to take emotion out of this because I love Shishkin. I absolutely love the horse. But from a punting perspective and looking through all the field, firstly, I'll just mention, I think Edwardstone and Gentle to Me are the wrong prices. I think Gentle to Me should be much closer in the market to what Edwardstone is. I think 11 to 2 Edwardstone, I think Gentle to Me should be a similar price, if not slightly like a point bigger. But a 10 to 1 Gentle to Me is very interesting because having that first run, I know didn't really do much, but Edwardstone's been pushed back. And yes, he'll be ready. But from what Gentleman to Me did for Edwardstone last season, you'd like to see him a bit closer in the market. Saying that, I do think it's between Shishkin and Grenatin. Like you say, if Shishkin's back to his best, they've got the bone condition under control. I think the ground's probably slightly quicker than what he wants. He doesn't want it heavy. He doesn't want it really soft, but he does need a bit of juice in there, Shishkin, I think, to be at his best. And obviously, it's tough in it because the conditions at Cheltenham weren't to his suiting, but he never jumped at all that day. He never got going. And to see a top-class horse do that, it does put a bit of doubt in your mind. But saying that, from the form he's shown, he's a superstar. He's absolutely brilliant. And if he's back to his best, he will win this race. But from a solid punting perspective, Grenatin has to be the bet in this race at 15 to 8 for me. Won three races over course and distance out of 4 tries and was second in the other Tingle Creek. Second in the Tingle Creek 2 seasons ago, won the Tingle Creek last season, won back-to-back celebration chases at Sandown. He's absolutely brilliant at Sandown. If you look at as well how much he's progressed over the last few seasons, last season he started off in the Holden Gold Cup giving weight away, finished 4th. This season giving even more weight away in the Holden Gold Cup and absolutely bolted up. He's been given a rating of 171. I think he deserves that. He's been absolutely brilliant. Your doubt is that when he took on Shishkin in the Desert Orchid at Kempton, he got battered by 10 lengths. But I don't think that was his be-all and end-all. I think that was just Paul Nicholls giving him a run to see what he could do against Shishkin. He would have been trained for his life for this race by Nicholls, and we know Nicholls can do that. He's shown it time and time again over the last 20 years what he can do with his horses when he aims them at a specific target. Grenatin at Sandown just go hand in hand. I think he's a solid bet. And I would go as far to say, if someone gave me 50 quid to say who was going to be in the top 2 out of Grenatin and Shishkin, I'd go Grenatin. I think he's a safer bet. I really do.
I'd agree on the top 2, yeah. I wonder what betting without, I don't know how short Grenatin would get, but betting without Shishkin.
I just think he's a really, really solid bet that you know he's going to run his race. So at 15-8, there's been slight question marks around Shishkin. Is he back to his best? Is he the same horse after his last run? He's been off quite a bit of time. Grenadine's had that run already that he's going to strip fitter for. Do you know what I mean? There was just a bit of, even though I don't really want to take on Shishkin, there was question marks. There was enough question marks there for me to make a solid enough case for Grenadine. And with so much going in his favour, I thought 15-8 he was the bet in this race. But it's a cracking race, and I cannot wait to watch it because there's so many different factors that could happen. Like you could see Gentleman to me go and win this race, and you go, "But yeah, that's a good horse, isn't it?" But we know that from Aintree, and you get Edward Stone could go, "Well, he's an Arkle winner." So like,
yeah,
so many different.
I think they could all go and win. The only thing is Shishkin. If he's beat, you'd have it down to him not being right rather than him not being good enough. If he is right, he's good enough.
I agree.
So it's whether you want to take on the the risk of is he back to his best, or would you rather, as you said, Grenadine, out of all these, you probably know what you're getting the most, don't you?
Yeah.
He's a solid kind of horse. He will run a true race. He loves it around Sandown. But 2-1 means nothing if he's beaten 10 lengths.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I don't think he'll be beat 10 lengths. That's a bit bullish. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
You bang on what you say with Shishkin, though. If this horse gets beat, he won't be down to lack of class. It will be he's not ready, he's not right, he's not the same horse. Because if he is at his best, he wins this race. Simple as that. He's a brilliant horse. But
that's the decision I think you've got to make, isn't it, as a punter?
Exactly.
Do you want to take that risk, or do you want to take the other
I'm of the opinion that with Grenadine so much on his side, and I think Shishkin might just need that first run back, that I think he might put up a good race, and I think he might be back to somewhere near his best, but I don't think this first outing he will be like champion chase, chase ready, if you get what I mean. He'd be ready, I think he'll be fit, but I think Grenadine will be fitter, personally. And I think that might just give him the slight edge. But from a class angle, Shishkin wins, doesn't he? But we could go over and over and talk about this because until we see it, we'll never know. And we can only make our judgments. But a cracking race in the offing. Aintree's final event on Saturday, then we're going to cover, is the Ball Sports Extra Places Daily Handicap Hurdle over 2 mile 4. And Nicky Henderson has another nice one at the top of the market in this. Who are you going for, Frankie?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with him. I'm kind of hoping that John Bond goes in, Shishkin goes in, and then Walking on Air finishes off the job for Nicky Henderson. I mean, we don't know what this horse is going to be, but if you look at the rest of the field, Langadam rated 144. I think he's had his day in the sun, and the handicap has kind of got a hold of him. I wonder if he is, of that top level, or if he is just a handicapper. I'd probably say the latter. And then the rest of the field, you're looking at 138, the next highest rated, Herbier. And then, mid 130 horses, or even plenty of mid 120 horses. If Walking on Air is anything like what has been talked about to be, and what visually he did kind of show us a glimpse of last season, he's got to be in the 140s. And he's only running off a 132 here. So you're just clinging on to the idea that this horse has been hyped up to be a lot higher than his current marker 132. And if he lives up to that hype, which, Nicky Henderson's been firing. Some of the hype horses have been firing and winning. This would complete the book. And I'd take my chance at 3-1. I was willing to when he was pulled out the other week. He was a similar price, and I was ready to take my chance at Newbury, and I think I'll do the same again. If I was to try and find another that's maybe got a bit more solid form, then Herbier would be the one I mentioned. Should run a decent race. Was 9th in the Martin Pipe, 9th, but not miles back in the field, off 134. Comes here £4 up, and has been decent enough since. So that might be my each way play for safety, but Walking on Air, it's got to be a 140 horse. Got to be, if not better.
I completely agree with you. I think off 132, off what this horse shown over his that run at Newbury was so taken, and I think he was in there for the market, the Supreme at one stage, fairly up there.
Yeah, people were talking about maybe Constitution Hill being the Supreme horse, Walking on Air being the Ballymore horse. I think was kind of like the play at one point.
Yeah, he was. And if you're going to talk about a horse like that, and he's coming into a handicap hurdle of 132, Nicky Henderson, bloody hell, 3-1 is unbelievable value, isn't it? If this horse is what I think it's going to be a 140 plus horse, it's not have that much running. Like you say, Langadan, admirable horse, brilliant, but a 144 in this race is not as well handicapped as he has been in the past. Um, Walking on Air could just be the graded horse in this handicap, couldn't it? And at 3-1, you get cracky value to find out, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lightly raced. Yes, was pulled up in a grade 1 at Aintree. I don't think that was down to Aintree per se. I just think it was down to the horse probably not running his race that day. I think gifted a marker 1-3 time with you here, Frankie. I just think he's a cracking bet. I was on him last week when he got took out. So I hope he does run this weekend. And he's a fascinating horse, really. If we didn't see a lot of him last season, hopefully we get to see a bit more of him this season. Right then, the final event on the Saturday on ITV we're going to cover is the London National Handicap Chase over 3 mile 5 furlongs. Frankie, finish off our selections for us.
Yeah, a bit boring, but I think the winner comes out the top 2 here. Dees, Aber, however you want to go with that. A second to Lamilos, who just won the Coral Gold Cup round Sandown. And Lamilos was, you'd argue, well handicapped that day, considering went on to go and win the Coral Gold Cup. And then ran in that little prep run, the hurdle race, which a few that went into the Coral Gold Cup running last time out should come here kind of fit and ready to rock and roll. And was a no second in this last year. So I'd imagine they're taking that kind of similar prep run. Well, they went to Aintree over hurdles and then they're coming here again. They've took the same route. We targeted at this. The Milos form in there is nice. So Dees, Abo, Aber to go close. But to be honest, that run from Revels Hill, the other at the top of the market at Ascot, over 2 miles 5, staying on into second. Your Darling was clear of the field, but real tough performance to stay on into second over 2.5, back to 3 miles where he's won his last 2 around this trip. I think has got a cracking chance. That would be my bet, although I could see either of them winning. But I really like that performance at Ascot from Revels Hill, and the fact that you can back that up back to 3 miles with him winning over 3 miles a number of times makes him pretty strong for me in this.
Yeah, you're absolutely bang on. I don't think I could describe the race any better. Desiree definitely got a big chance at 4-1 with the Lamilos form and finishing a no second, only £2 higher in this year's renewal. But Revels Hill was the one for me. I know we say we don't discriminate against older horses, but being 7 years of age in a race over 3 mile 5 furlongs and showing you can do it over a lesser trip and how he was staying on that day against Your Darling, giving like a stone away. Going back up another mile to what his preferred trip is. Harry Fry's having a great season so far. Again, it's for the Noel Feely Syndicate, who have been flying as well with their horses. Yeah, I thought Rebels Hill, it's boring. I know he's 6-4 favourite, but I thought he was the most likely winner.
Strong, isn't he?
Yeah.
6-4, are you saying?
6-4, seeing now, yeah.
Jesus.
It is.
Might have a bet now.
Yeah, I know. But
I've got 11.
I think he's got a great chance, absolutely great chance. But yeah, Desiree I think will be up there again. But I just think Rebels Hill have too much for him, and that run at Ascot sets the form by a mile, and there's only up £1 for that. He's got a great chance. Sorry, that's all of Saturday's races covered. Then now we're going to have a look at Fairyhouse. It's a cracking weekend of racing because Fairyhouse offer 3 grade 1s, and it's 3 grade 1s in Ireland that we always look forward to. The Bar 1, grade 1 novices hurdle, the Drinmore, and then obviously Honeysuckle's Playground in the Hatton's Grace. We're going to start off by looking at the Royal Bond, the novice hurdle over 2 miles. At the top of the market, obviously we're recording this Friday morning, so we're looking from an anti-post point of view as we record. But at the top of the market, we've got Champ Kylie around the 4-5 mark, then Marine Nationale for Barry Connell. Frankie, looks an absolutely top-class race, this to me, with a lot of horses with a lot of potential. Who are you going for?
It does, yeah. But Champ Kylie, when I see that name on a race card at the moment, I'm a big fan of Champ Kylie. He just looks like a machine. He just seems to have a serious engine. The way that he just kind of gallops and gallops, he looks like a machine, I think. I saw him at Galway and was so impressed that day. And then for him to go and beat Brazil and just be equally as impressive. It's a horse I'm really, really excited about. I don't know where he's going to end up, what his ideal race is going to turn out to be, but he just looks so powerful visually when he runs. And in these races, in these novice races, you've got to look at how horses look visually. To be honest, I know he's beat Brazil, so that's a nice bit of form in there. But I'd be more impressed with just watching him. Looks a machine. So yeah, Champ Kylie, when that name pops up at the moment for the time being until he gets beat, is my selection.
Yeah, I found this tough because I can make a case for a lot. Irish Point, I think it's going to turn out to be a nice horse. Astro Diamond, I think Willie Mullins at Thurles on Thursday said this horse was going to run. So obviously getting the weights interesting. That showed how good that could be at Aintree last season. Three Card Bragg was a big eye catcher last time out when running on into third. Didn't lose by a lot. And Marine Nationale for Barry Connell. This horse could absolutely be anything. Hasn't have to come off the bridle for anything. Beat horses like Demand Driving Devan, who's had a nice form line. But saying all that, Champ Kylie.
The beast.
I know he was a horse that you put up to follow for the season when we did our podcast at the start of the season. And look, I know he's at the top of the market. I tried to get away from him and make cases for all these horses, and they've got a lot of potential, but we've just seen way more from Champ Kylie than we have from the others, as in running in a grade 3, beating Brazil. Brazil's come out to beat Phil Dawes. Phil Dawes, then we know what Phil Dawes is all about. It's gone on to win over fences. The form line stacks up. Yes, Habrisco didn't do anything for the form line at Cheltenham, but I don't think Habrisco won a 2 mile 5 person. I don't think he stayed the trip. So I've got no problem with that. Yeah, I just think Champ Kylie's been waiting for this ever since he won that race at Tipperary. And I think he'd be very tough to beat. Willie Mullins, Paul Townend, I think solid enough shout. But it's a fascinating race for me because I think there's a lot of horses in this field that have a lot of potential. So I'm looking forward to see where they all stack up. And I hope they all do turn up. As I said, we're talking before we know the complete markets. But yeah, Champ Kylie for both of us. And next up, then we're going to talk about is the Grade 1 Drimmoor Novice Chase. This race has been won by some cracking winners in the past. Frankie, who are you going for?
We know where I'm going. We know where I'm going. 3 Stripe Life. Yeah. I mean, head and heart. Banbridge at Cheltenham was actually really impressive. And you know, when you're looking at a horse coming into the chasing sphere, to see one kind of attack his fences and he didn't lose much momentum at each fence was really impressive. But 3 Stripe Life, my old boy 3 Stripe Life, he was all right on his first start over fences as well. And not all horses transfer their hurdling ability. Sometimes you get that mismatch where a lower class hurdler will then go on to be a better chaser and overtake some of their peers. But 3 Stripe Life seemed to look quite nice and relaxed for a messy hurdler. I quite like the way he was taken to his fences, and he has got an engine, and he's shown that, particularly finishing a season over 2.5 at Aintree and then Punchestown in a race that State Man won. So yeah, I'm going to stick with him. Maybe a bit more heart than head, but he's done nothing to put me off. Put it that way.
Yeah, 3 Stripe Life. I love the horse as well. I wasn't as impressed probably as you were on his chasing debut. I thought, was it Grand Jury that day? I think sadly passed away. From that would have took it all the way. Maybe would have beat it. So I'm a bit wary of that run. So also looking.
I just thought he's always been a messy hurdle. You know, I was expecting worse. I thought, I don't know how this is going to go over fences, and he was all right, or better than all right.
Yeah, no, I do what you mean, and I think he's going to be a much better chaser than he was hurdler, even though he's a great hurdler. I am against him in this one, though. I do like 3 Stripe Life, but I am against him in this. Mighty Potter for me didn't jump well enough when I first saw him over fences. A bit like 3 Stripe Life, but I think he's got a serious engine, and I think he's a lovely horse. So he's got to be of some note. Hollow Games was absolutely brilliant on chase debut. I think this is probably the trip he wants, maybe run over further where he didn't want that. So I think Hollow Games got a big chance. Gaio de Manil, you can't believe he's still a novice from his hurdle days, can you? Because he was a brilliant hurdler. I think he wants further. If he showed in the Irish Grand National just how good he could be over a trip, I think he wants much further than this. So I'd be surprised if he runs. Adamantly Chosen is probably the best of the Mullins chances for me. He was an okay hurdler, but I think he's going to be a better chaser. I think all their eyes are as well for Mullins got a big chance, but I kept going back to Banbridge. That form in the Arkle trial, the win before at Go Run, it's a tough place to go for your first chase debut. He showed it at 2 mile 4. He showed he's got the pace for 2 miles. He's a Martin Pike winner off 137. I thought he was a solid contender. Though he's got a big chance. So Banbridge would be my play, but like I've just gone through talking about most of the runners here. It's just another fascinating race because I can't wait to see them actually take on each other. It's lovely to see them all pop out, isn't it, in their maidens and their novice chases. But they
These are
don't
the races you want.
they don't really beat too much. But it's nice to see him actually go and jump a fence for the first time. Now I want to see him jump the fences under pressure, and that's how you see who the best are. So I'm looking forward to this one. It'll be a cracking race. Finally, then we're going to finish on is the final grade one of the afternoon at Fairyhouse, and it's the Hatton's Grace Hurdle over 2 mile, 3.5 furlongs. Honeysuckle's won this race 3 times on the bounce. She's going to do it 4 times, isn't she?
Yeah, the Queen is back. She is. I couldn't even see a point in making much of a case for anything else. I mean, she's 1 to 3, and rightly so. Yeah, it's great to get to have Constitution, not to come back to that all the time, but to see Constitution and then see Honeysuckle quite close together is quite exciting because we're seeing the best of the best in that champion hurdle division in relatively quick succession, and it just kind of hots up that contest. But yeah, I mean, all things well, she goes and wins.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the play for this race is probably not to back her for this. It's to back her for the Cheltenham Festival and back her at 92 each way because she's not going to beat Constitution Hill, but she'll pick up second and you'll get your money if you back Constitution Hill and you get your money if you back her each way. So the price will go into less. I think the price will probably go to 7 to 2, maybe 3 to 1 if she wins this.
She goes, yeah.
And I think Constitution Hill might drift slightly back out, not because of anything he's done wrong, just how the market will be. Because 4 to 6 he's really, really short, but he's a freak, so he'll just go and win that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing her. She's unbelievable, and I think this will make it 18 in a row, including a point-to-point, 17 under rules if she wins this, which is just unbelievable. And you're talking about a horse at 92 for the champion hurdle who's never lost. That just shows how good Constitution is because it's an absolute joke, isn't it? She's done nothing wrong. You look through a roster: a mare's hurdle, 2 champion hurdles, 3 Hatton Graces, 3 Irish champion hurdles, 2 Paddy Power champion hurdles. What a career! What a career she's had. And I just hope she finishes this season. If she just goes on and lose, it's not a problem. She owes nothing to the sport. But I want to see her get to Cheltenham without losing, if you know what I mean. So it sets up that, because I don't think they'll meet before, even though there's been murmurs that Constitutional might go over to Ireland for the Dublin Racing Festival. It won't happen. We know that. So if it comes to the Cheltenham Festival where they're both unbeaten, what a race that's going to be. But yeah, looking forward to seeing her. Probably if I was going to have a stab at someone to finish second in the race, Classical Dream maybe. He might want further, but I do like Classical Dream. He's a good horse. I think Darva Star's a good horse, and Ashdale Bob as well. So even though they're not nowhere near as good as Honeysuckle, they do make a bit of a race of it in behind. And again, it's another cracking race. So yeah, Honeysuckle for the both of us, and I'm looking forward to seeing her get back on track. Right then, Frankie, we've been through 11 races there, cracking weekend of racing. We've been through loads there, and now it is nap time from across Saturday and Sunday. Last week I got off the mark with Amarillo Sky bolting up, so it was nice to get one on the board. I think Paul got on the board with Banbridge, so Frankie will give you the honour because it's your turn this week. It's got to be.
Oh, I could have either of the Noel Feely Syndicate horses, Love and Royal Revels Hill. I think I'm going to go with Revels Hill. A nap in the last at Sandown in the handicap chase. It's brave. The 3 mile 5 handicap chase. But yeah, that really impressive at Ascot. And yeah, I'm going to go with it. Revels Hill. Either of those two, Love and Royal, Revels Hill. But let's stick to it. Revels Hill is the nap. Yeah,
absolutely cracking chance. I think Revels Hill wins. I think Love Envoy wins as well. My nap, I talked about at the top of the show, it's a Hoy Senior. Big chance back at a track he's unbeaten at. Getting his first run out the way like he always does. He's cracking record second time out. Just needs to get out into a rhythm. And I just think he's a better horse than the horses he's taking on. Even though they are good horses, I think he's a better one. So back at Aintree, Hoy Senior, 5 to 4. That's my nap this week. Frankie, thanks as always for your selections this week. We've been through absolutely loads of racing. It's going to be a cracking weekend. You're at Sandown, aren't you, this weekend?
I am, yeah.
I think you're at Huntington as well, aren't you? On
yeah, Sunday? Sandown to Huntington. That's a new course for me.
Lovely stuff. Well, I hope we found some winners then across this weekend. Please be sure to like this video, comment your selections, comment your nap below for the weekend, get involved on YouTube or on social media, and also remember to subscribe with plenty of other stuff across the Winners Enclosure channel to get stuck into. All the best this weekend, whatever you're backing. And Frankie, thanks again.